Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cincinnati Real Producers Podcast, powered by Next Door Photos. I'm Patrick Braddock, owner and publisher of Cincinnati Real Producers.
And I'm Daniel Ziegler, owner of Next Door Photos. Every week, we're getting to know Cincinnati's top realtors.
Our goal is to elevate and inspire the real estate community throughout greater Cincinnati.
Today we have Eric Sztanyo with Keller Williams Advisors. Eric is in his 7th year selling real estate, and his career sales volume is over $74 million. In the past 2 years alone, his volume was over $41 million. Eric was named Rookie of the Year at Keller Williams Advisors, and also earned the award for Team Highest Production for back-to-back years in 2022 and 2023. Additionally, Eric has achieved Circle of Excellence the last 5 years, including Platinum level in 2023. Eric also has the #1 real estate YouTube channel in Cincinnati. Welcome to the show, Eric Sztanyo.
Hey. Thanks for having me.
It's pretty awesome.
Good to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I want to talk about that YouTube channel, but we'll save that for a little bit later.
All right.
I was going to say that's super intriguing, knowing that I don't know anything about social media and YouTube and all that stuff. So I'm really curious to pick your brain on that stuff. It sounds awesome. So
yeah, super cool. Well, what we love to do on our podcast here is to get to know you a little bit better on a personal level and kind of hear a little bit about your journey getting into real estate and kind of what that journey looked like from starting out to where you are now. But before we even get there, let's just talk about you and your family and your history. So, did you grow up in Cincinnati?
I did. Well, Northern Kentucky. Does
Hey,
that count?
Same.
absolutely.
Does it count to you?
It does, yeah. I
Oh,
mix
yeah.
it all together now.
Yeah.
It's all one big
Okay.
area to me.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. Okay. No, we moved. We actually moved here when I was 6 from Michigan. We came down. My dad was a pilot. So grew up in Florence, Northern Kentucky, Boone County High School. Went away to college in Nashville and then came back. In Nashville, I was an accounting, business major, Bible minor. It was Lipscomb University. And there was I got recruited by an accounting, like Big Five firm. This guy came and he was like 6'2", good looking, not, nice suit, nice watch. And his question was, how would you like to make 6 figures and golf 3 times a week? And I said, that is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
But actually that it had a reverse effect, funny enough, because I was like, do I just want money? Is that all I want? And it scared me. And I actually went the exact opposite direction into unpaid volunteer youth ministry for the next 5 years after graduating college, summa cum laude. So I moved back to Cincinnati and helped start, if anyone's familiar with Young Life Ministries, I was part of Northern Kentucky Young Life, but on the east side of town, Southeast Cincinnati, as we called it. I was a volunteer leader at Anderson High School from 03 to 08. Met my wife in that time through Young Life.
That's awesome.
And that was great. I'm rambling on here, but that was our journey. I took a bunch of jobs that were not great and not good fits for me so that I could do that ministry, because that's what I really cared about, including selling health insurance really poorly and then delivering pizzas for a year for La Rosa's because I needed some money. I lived with 8 guys in a house,
Wow.
And when I brought home a broken La Rosa's pizza, they were like, "Yay, we get to eat tonight!"
It's Christmas, man.
Yeah, no, I bought my wife's wedding ring with pizza delivery money, so that was great.
Nice.
Did financial planning, kind of failed at that as well, and then I got into internet marketing for about 10 years, learned things about SEO and Google, and launched a few e-commerce stores that basically failed, but got over that hump of trying to start a business, which was very valuable. And we were having kids in that time. So we got, I didn't get into real estate until I was 36 years old. Is that right? 35, 36, something like that. I'm 42 now. We had 3 kids and boy. And we were pregnant with the 4th. I was in the delivery room with my wife studying for my pre-licensing courses because that was the only quiet time I had in my entire life. I'm like, this is so knocking out modules while we had our 4th. And it was, we kind of went running from there. It was a big leap, a big risk, but we had taken a few risks before. and we had enough experiences where like things are going to work out.
Yeah.
So my wife was, there was a lot of provision there. We were just getting by. Real estate was not something I wanted to do at all, really. I had some experience in investing. Sorry, I'm just rambling. Do you guys want to?
No,
feel free to
love
interject.
I love it because we talked pre-production, kind of about your story a little bit and got kind of caught up with stuff. Going into that, like the one question just popped in my head while we were going was, talk about your first year in real estate real quick, because that transition. I mean, you said you're in the delivery room with number 4 on the way, studying for your exam. You know, obviously you don't make any money when you start real estate. Nope. What was your mindset? What was your thought process when you were getting going? And talk about your wife too, because I'm sure that support has to be there in order to be successful.
Yeah, we had some streams of income, some light streams.
Yeah.
I had this internet marketing business where I had a few clients who were paying monthly retainers, and so I was keeping that work up. And that's always the hardest thing, is that transition. And so when people come and they're like, I just quit my job, I'm starting real estate. I'm like, why did you do that? Because it's going to take time to go through the classes and learn and get trained up and then get a sale and then get paid from the sale. Like, that's a long process.
Yeah.
But in discussing it with my wife, it was as soon as we saw a sale come in, and I was also doing, I was doing the residential sales, but I was also doing some wholesaling. Nice. So I kind of got into the investor side and was doing both simultaneously. I was like, I don't know, let's just see what happens.
Right.
And part of that mindset for me was like, I want to be able to know how to make money in any real estate market. And so if prices are going up, great, I'll sell a bunch of houses. If everything tanks like 2008, then good. I know how to buy properties and flip or whatever. Do buy and hold. So I did both. And so that first year, it was a risk, but as soon as we saw some income coming in, it was like kind of burn the ships and go for it. And we went all in.
That's awesome, man.
That is awesome.
Good for you. I mean, it's
Thanks.
scary when you have a family like that, and the fear of the unknown, can grab hold of your mindset pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But it's awesome that you're able to fight through that.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about having a lot of kids is they get hungry every day, and so
that's the good part.
And if they're hungry, they cry.
Yeah.
And so what's amazing about crying kids is it's a great motivation for a man to go out and make money.
It's phenomenal.
So yes,
very true.
Thankful for that.
It's awesome.
So you mentioned that like real estate wasn't something that you were necessarily super interested in. What was it that ended up kind of being the impetus to getting you into that industry?
Yeah, it was. We were talking about this a little bit. For me, the faith and fatherhood narratives were so high, and work was like, I had done the youth ministry, and so I kind of categorized work as like there's like good holy work, and then there's other work where you're just making money and those scumbags. But that was a wrong way to think about it. And I read a book by a pastor named Tim Keller called Every Good Endeavor. And the book really was about saying, no, all work is holy. It doesn't matter if you're like a preacher or you're like a garbage man or you're building a chair or you're a real estate agent, like whatever. The basic concept is, not to preach too much, but
please do.
Genesis 1, we were created in God's image. God worked. And any work that you do, you are reflecting the image of God. Mm-hmm. And so that was super helpful for me because I had work down here, but it brought it back up here. I was like, oh, no, work, fatherhood, these things are all very important in terms of worship and how to live a life of worship. And so then that put me on a journey of like the first time out of college, you're saying, okay, I want to work. Now what? I basically prayed for 2 years. God, what do you want me to do? And so I went through every strengths finders test and stupid personality, thing out there. And I was not thinking real estate whatsoever. But I was getting sick of that at the end of that 2-year journey. And I was like, oh, I'm good at getting internet marketing leads, but I don't want to just do it for something expensive. How about houses? And I'll just sell those leads. And so I got into wholesaling, which, we can talk about that later. But like I was getting leads from motivated sellers. I got one under contract. I went to sell that house on Bigger Pockets, which is an investor forum. And another wholesaler in town said, "Hey, you can't do that." I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is like, that's all this website is selling properties." And he said, "No, you're not a licensed real estate agent. You can't say this home is for sale. You can say this contract is for sale because you're assigning the contract." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing at all." And I like pushing boundaries, but I don't like getting in trouble. And so I signed up for real estate courses the next day. And when I opened up the intro, and it was like listing all of the skill sets of a real estate agent and what you're doing, it all clicked with like the 2 years of personality tests.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I think I'm supposed to do this." And so, yeah, I didn't want to do, because I didn't want the nights and weekends thing. I still cared so much about the fatherhood thing that I didn't want that to bleed over. And that's such a difficult thing for real estate agents. And so I never really wanted to do it. But then when I saw the fit, I was like, "Oh, this is the right thing." And so, and it has been phenomenal. It has been it's been such a blessing. And my wife and I continually look at each other and like, how is this happening? This is crazy. This is amazing.
Good for you.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's very cool. I have a somewhat similar journey, but this is about you. We can talk about that some
No, I
other
want to
time.
hear your
So-
journey.
No, I want to make this about you. So now you've got your license and you're kind of getting started. So let's talk about that second year going into real estate. And, you've kind of crossed that boundary of getting started. And you mentioned kind of all the things that you had these extra streams of income, but now you've dove in full, head first. So talk us through the rest of that journey from then until now, and challenges along the way, and or maybe not, all the
No, it's
celebrations
all been
along
easy.
the way. Right?
Really
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, you make it
No
look
problems.
No
easy,
issues
as any
ever.
good realtor does.
No, I mean, I mean, real estate is a business where you solve problems and you get paid for it. So that was certainly a misconception I had early on, where I thought, I just didn't realize that like basically a real estate transaction is 2 times where you celebrate, like you go into contract and you close, and 35 problems to solve.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful flip. But yeah, we solve problems. Growing the business. I mean, the first few years it was kind of back and forth, wholesaling and building the residential sales and kind of working my sphere. Really early on, you're trying to figure out your top lead generation method. I was a believer of like, I need to lead generate every day. That's what everyone's telling me to do. I'm going to do that. But it wasn't until like, and I had done some SEO. I had done some video stuff for a previous startup I'd worked for. And I remember in my early coaching class at Keller Williams, the coach was like, "I don't care what you do, you just lead generate every day." And I'm an introvert, and I had those past jobs where I failed, like financial planning. That was the like cold call on the desk. They're like, "There's your leads," and I'm like, I'm 24, like trying to get a 55-year-old to give me their wealth. Like, it's like, this is like not a good idea. But I sold life insurance to all my family and friends. So it's a decent business model for Mass Mutual. So no, I raised my hand to my coach. I was like, can I blog, for lead generating? He's like, "Yeah, I don't care. Just do it every day."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, great." And I realized there's so many ways to do lead generation in real estate, like whether you're Danny Barron, you're throwing events, or you're, working your sphere. Peter Zimmer is a guy in our office who I think is amazing at that. Or Sarah Woody, if you know Sarah, extremely extroverted. I'm like, I'm an introvert with 5 kids. How am I going to do this? So I started making videos, and in 2020, January, February, a guy from Texas called me and was like, "Hey, I'm buying a $700,000 house with this builder. Found you on YouTube. If you're smart enough to do YouTube, you're smart enough to be my real estate agent." I'm like, great. And so we had like a 30-minute Zoom with the builder. We signed up. I was his agent. We closed on the house. And I'm like, oh, I think I might be onto something here. And so I hired a video editor like the next day and have just kind of been doubling down on the YouTube thing since then.
That's awesome.
No, clearly it's working. And you mentioned to us pre-production too that a pretty good chunk of your leads come that way now.
Yeah, I mean it's like 2/3 of the business, and so it's been huge. It's been great growth. There's a guy in Orlando who does it. He's with Keller Williams. His name's Ken Posick. And I met him last year at a regional event here, and just said, I was on a panel that he was leading. And he was like, tell us about how you grew your business. I was like, I saw this guy in Orlando named Ken, and I just started doing what he does. And he was like, that's a pretty good business model. So yeah, it's been great. It's been growing. The challenge now is like, we've got these leads coming in, and so the new skill set for me is like, I need to find, hire, recruit, and train a team. So that's the new challenge right now. Yeah.
It's a challenge with everybody too. And like growth in real estate is so hard because you have to find, we talked about this, you have to find the right people, and being able to do so takes time, So what do you kind of think about your next 5 years as far as the growth and where you want to be? And obviously you're concentrating on the social media, YouTube side of things, which is awesome because not a lot of people are doing that. And being the number one YouTuber in real estate in Cincinnati is phenomenal. So what do you kind of look at your next 5 years and like where you want to be with the business and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. I mean, again, for me, the family is so where they're at in 5 years is a big deal. My oldest is 13, so I have 13, 11, 8, 6, and 4. Those are my ages right now. So when I got in, they were 6, 4, maybe almost 2, and then the 4th was coming. So 5 years and maybe beyond, I'm thinking about how they could potentially plug into the business.
Yeah,
that was a huge excitement for me getting into real estate and making that switch. Was I had this business, but all these clients were across the country, and the idea that I get to build a name locally was really intriguing for me. Because for me, the idea of wanting to be with my kids and them working in the business, not that they're all going to choose that, maybe none of them will, but at least the idea that real estate is broad enough where they could in many different ways was really intriguing and exciting to me, because they could swing a hammer on one of the flips and be a property manager, or they could be my attorney, or they could do sales. Like it's just so broad.
Yeah.
And the way they're created and their skill sets, they can plug in if they want to various places. Building the team, I mean, definitely there certainly was a time a few years ago. There's this proverb that says, let me see if I can think about it. It's like, where there are no oxen, the stable is clean, but an abundant harvest comes from the strength of the ox. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting on that, and I was kind of doing my thing. I was selling homes and flipping houses, and I'm like, this is kind of easy. Like, this is great. There's not a lot of people, so there's not a lot of ox dung in the stable, right? There's not a lot of bull crap around. And I kind of was like, I'm just going to keep this small and tidy. A lot of people choose to do that, and there's less drama and management and all that. But I was like, I sat on that for about a year, or two. I'm like, I don't think that's right. Like, because the business has been such a blessing and a change of our life now, it switched to like, no, I want to bring people in. I was listening to your interview with Megan Stacey, which was amazing. She was kind of saying the same thing. She's like, it shifted from just the clients to my people, like the team. And so for me, like a life well lived is being a conduit of blessing. Mm-hmm. And so our tagline for the business is find your home, strengthen your family. So we're all about kind of the family. The kind of the core belief of the business is, and this is a fun part about doing real estate, is like home is where your family grows strong. Yeah. It's a character in your family's story. Mm-hmm. So I love, there's the nuts and bolts of it, but helping people find that place where they can strengthen their family. But then further on, it's like we believe home is where you strengthen your family. We believe strong families bless the city. And so for me, the vision is like help more families find their homes, but also build a team, because if they're winning and growing and becoming more influential, that's going to bless the city. And that's so vision wise, I'm never like, although I see your magazine and I do get slighted because you don't have the NKY numbers in there, and there's that competitive thing in me. There's a lot of that in real estate where we're looking around and like, am I better than you?
Yeah.
I've never had that ambition. My ambition has always been for like, what am I building for my family?
Yeah.
But there's a little bit. I mean, I am human. But the
Well, that's why you're going to be a good real estate agent too, because the service aspect overtakes the competitive aspect.
yes.
So
I do have ambitions to be like, I want to be the top, but it's more so because I want more of that.
yeah,
That blessing to flow, if that makes sense.
yeah, no,
That's
that's
maybe
awesome.
a weird way to say it.
It's kind of an exciting podcast interview because it just seems like you're just scratching the surface on the potential of your business. And
think that's right.
and it just feels like it could be any moment before there could be just a massive explosion of just like, whoa, what are we doing? And it's just like in a good way, like I don't get that from a lot of people. And there's some people that we've had on here that are already exploded and they're already crushing real estate, and you're doing really, really well. Like you're definitely no slouch in the real estate game, but like the potential is pretty exciting. Like just listening to you talk.
Well, watching the people you've had on who have such a big, it's such a shift. It is a shift
Yeah.
in skill set and where you're putting your focus and how you're recruiting. And it's, and I know I'm not there yet. Like I look around at some of the teams and the professionals who are doing that. I'm like, you guys are great.
Well, what's crazy
guys
is
are
you're
so
also
good.
a lot further than a lot of people. Like,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people who do a great amount of real estate in this market. And that's why we only market to the top 500.
Yeah.
So it's like, the 90-10 rule is in full effect when certain people only sell a few houses a year, and you're doing a lot more than that. So, and I mean, you caveat that into, the buy and hold and flips and all that stuff. Like, you're embracing, more marketability in your real estate business, which is cool.
Yeah. That's a huge goal of mine as we go. It's just, I still do that. So I spend a good chunk of my week as well working those leads, and I'm the guy out there giving cash offers to people. So, and that, that's a whole nother side of the bit. That's a whole nother business.
Yeah.
But that's been such an eye opener, and learned so many things from that as well. And just the people here in the city and what people go through. It's, we don't have to go there.
I mean,
it's
but
great.
even touching base on that, it's good that you can take that and bring it back to your clients too, who are looking.
Well,
right?
what I didn't realize when you got, like I said, I did the youth minutes, the Young Life thing, ministry, and kind of grew up in the church. I didn't realize that real estate is really, it's a very pastoral role. Your people are going through one of the most stressful times in their life, whether it's good or bad. It's still stressful buying or selling a house, and the ability to listen to people is critical. So if I were to give any agent like a skill, like go to a class and learn how to listen.
Yeah.
To work on. Like you don't need to read how to sell or whatever. You need to learn how to listen and hear what people are saying. And certainly on the residential sales side, that's part of it. But on the like motivated seller, when people are going through hard things, it's incredibly important. And so, and I, just real quick on that, a lot of people think wholesale, like you're just taking advantage of grandmas and all that. And that's how I thought about it, like when I first got into it. But then I realized like these people have problems that they want solved.
Yeah.
And if you can take this burden, like usually the house is a burden for people who are truly motivated. And if you can if you can help them solve that problem, it's just such a relief to them.
Yeah.
That's it. I answered everything. We're done.
He's done.
Nothing else to
Drop
say.
the mic.
Yep. So I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the YouTube channel. That's kind of right up my alley doing, photos and video work in my line of business. So let's go down that road. Why don't you share for our listeners a little bit about, how you got started in that? I know some of that came from, you mentioned, previous job that you had, previous business that you had. But yeah, let's go down that road, how you got started and then how it's kind of evolved.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube has been phenomenal. I always say it's like, whatever video you make, it's like planting a little seed in the ground and then out pops the client like 6 months later. It's a tremendous lead source. It's an opportunity to build trust, competence, authority. So it's very common that when people call me or they meet me for the first time, they're like, oh my gosh, I've been watching you on YouTube for like 2 years and I'm meeting you. I'm like, I'm a dad of 5 kids who sells real estate in Cincinnati. I'm not that cool. But what's amazing about it is the leads are so warm, so warm. Like I haven't seen any other channel or form of marketing where the people are like, they literally email me or call me multiple times a week, say, been watching your channel for a year, 2 years. We're moving in the spring. You're our guy. When can we meet? Like, there's nothing else like that.
Yeah.
And so, so yeah, there's, in terms of the hard thing for people, there's a lot of things that's difficult for people. Some people get really weirded out when they're on camera, and they just can't be natural. That's fine for me because I don't have a lot of shame. And so like, if I look stupid, I don't really care. And I think that's more rare than I realize in the real estate world. People very much care about their image and brand. And it does matter. I'm not going to say brand doesn't matter. But that low shame level has allowed me to put a lot of content out there and just keep doing it. The second thing is like in any lead channel, if you get business coming in, oftentimes people stop doing the thing. And so I've been very, you have to be consistent with the schedule, get some in the queue, as you guys know. But then it just builds. Like, because the beautiful thing about YouTube over like Instagram or another social media platform is the length of how long the video lasts. I'm getting views on my pros and cons of Cincinnati video from 2019. That's up. It's like over 200,000 views or something like that. Wow. And so like, that's nice, And so every time I make a video, I'm adding another me out into the world of like that lasts for a long time. And so that just all kind of has compounded, which is great. So what I do typically in terms of the nuts and bolts, I'm doing one long form video a week. I started doing YouTube lives in this last summer, which I've been fairly consistent with that once a week. And I get people from all over the country and the world who are like asking me questions about Cincinnati. And so, you can have that live interaction with people, which is great. And then I hired a videographer recently, and we're trying to get out more shorts and reels and on different channels as well. So, that's
so what I'm most curious about, you mentioned, somebody's been watching you get these warm leads because they've been watching you for a year or two. So let's talk a little bit more about the content. If you're, people can go out there and find it anyways. It's not like it's top secret. What is the kind of content that you're putting out there that people are engaging with over that long term like that?
I mean, it's what people want to know. If you're moving to a city, what do you want to know? What's good about the city? What's bad about the city? Where should I live in the city? Like they're very basic questions that anyone with a cell phone, which is how I film myself for 3 years, can answer. And so, but those are, I would say that, just like any marketing, there's the top of the funnel, and then there's all the way down to like, oh, this Dries Homes model in this neighborhood, like, so, you should do a mix of top of funnel stuff. And I don't know, what's it like going to the Cincinnati Zoo and the Bengals and the Reds and the parks and whatever, all the way down to specific neighborhoods, school districts, local businesses, you can feature, and builders and, price points and all that stuff that's more granular.
So you're the Cincinnati tour guide.
Yeah, that's really how I think about it. And that's why I told my videographers, like, I want to be the ambassador of the city. I love the city. I'm raising my family in the city. I think we have something special nationally where it's super affordable, but the amenities are great and it's unknown. Like, we're in this sweet spot where we're not in the Sun Belt, so we didn't get like slammed by investors nationally. So, in most of the Sun Belt, cash offers were like 30 to 40% of the offers that people are trying to buy. Millennials can still get their first home here. And so a lot of people are moving here. But we're not featured nationally enough where like we're Austin or we're Nashville or whatever. And which is why I'm like, there's a great opportunity here. If you want to get here. But also, the other thing I usually say about the city is like, this is a place where if you want a family, if you want to put down roots, like this is a city of multi-generational families. And so if that's something that you're interested in, where you want, and that's my why. That's my vision is, like I said, I want my kids to work in the business, but like my ultimate vision is I want to be sitting around my dining room table with my kids and my grandkids, growing old and being hopefully an elder of my church. That's what I want. That's what I think is a life well lived. And Cincinnati is big enough where your kids can find opportunity and jobs to stay here, but small enough, like where it's, we all know this. It's like the big city, small feel. And if you want generational family lines, this is a great city for that.
I agree.
Well, it's like that's awesome. But I also feel like with your production through YouTube, you're naturally interviewing, just not live. Like you're interviewing everybody's interviewing you through your videos. They're getting to know you, your family, and everything like that. Your intentions and like your work ethic. Like it's just genius, and no wonder why it's taken off because, you know, you make it sound so easy that like somebody calls like, "Hey, you're my realtor." It's like, but I've been watching you for a year. I know your favorite color. You know, I know this, I know that. Like,
well, that I think early on you said the first few years what changed. There's a book by Patrick Hanlon called Primal Branding, and it talks about defining your audience. Those first few years you're in the business, you're taking business from anywhere and anywhere. And some of those clients you're like, ugh, like no offense client, but you're like, man, that was a rough one. And so when you get to design a lead generation business, or whether it's your sphere or however you're doing it, events, like design something of the people you want to work with.
Right.
And so when I thought through the YouTube channel, if anyone's doing YouTube, you need to think about who's going to watch these videos.
Right.
And then you need to make videos for that person. And so I picked that person to basically be me. Like, I like me. Like, I want to work with me. And so I was thinking of a family with 2, 3, 4 kids and driving around in my minivan. And like, so a lot, that does, like, to your point, that comes through in the videos.
Right.
And in case you guys don't know, Google's algorithm is really good and they're spying on us all the time. And so like those videos are going to find their way to whatever demo you're making. If you want to make a channel that's just about young professionals or like retirees or whatever it is, like Google and YouTube will seed those videos to the right people.
Right.
Awesome.
And so another, besides the leads being very warm, most of the time they're just awesome people.
Yeah.
And like they're growing their family. They're like, we don't like our city. What's going on here? We're getting priced out. We want to go do what you're doing with your family in your city. I'm like, great. Let's find a house.
I can help with that.
It's so fun. Like I had,
That's awesome.
Sorry to go on. I had a client who I helped when I sold them their house a few years ago. That they were pregnant with their first. This week we went out and looked at 40 acres, and they have 4 kids. You know, and it's like, this is really cool. Like just fun stuff.
That's super fun.
That's really neat.
I think this is a good segue, you know, talking about the YouTube channel. I think a lot of agents probably would love to hear, you know, some advice. Before we ask advice for you, though, we always like to give a quick shout out for Back to Back Ministries. We're here in their awesome podcast studio that they let us use. So I just want to give them a quick shout. Back to Back Ministries is a global nonprofit orphan care organization with their sights set on providing care for today and hope for every tomorrow. From Cincinnati, Ohio to Hyderabad, India, staff teams around the world are stepping into hard stories and choosing to stay. To learn more about the work Back to Back does, how you can get involved, and why a global team won't stop until every child is known and loved, visit backtoback.org today. Thank you, Back to Back.
Thank you.
So I didn't mean to prompt you with the YouTube thing. If you have other advice for agents, I would love to hear that. But what advice would you offer for maybe a new agent who's just getting started out in their business?
Non-YouTube?
It can be whatever you want it to be.
I'm going to go non-YouTube. If you want to talk about YouTube, give me a call.
There you go.
Share all my secrets.
Or just go watch your YouTube channel.
Yeah, there you go. I was thinking about this. 3 things real quick. Be humble. Stay focused. And rest. Okay? So real quick. I got in at 35, 36, whatever I was. The Malcolm Gladwell rule where you have to spend 10,000 hours in anything to become an expert in it. That was fresh in my mind. And so I was like, I'm going to be terrible at this for 3 years. That was my mindset when I got in. So I went to every training. I elbowed people out of the way to ask my questions because I'm like, I've got to figure this out. I've got kids.
Yeah.
And I think you need to be kind of, but that takes humility to be like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And some people try to get in and they think just be humble and realize you don't know what you're doing and you got to go learn and you got to go figure it out fast. Otherwise, you know, what is it? 90% are gone in 2 to 5 years.
Yep.
So you got to figure it out. That's number 1. Number 2 is stay focused / work hard. I'm at Keller Williams. And one of the reasons I went there was my real estate agent was like, the training's amazing. And it's true. The training is amazing. So go through all the trainings, but also the training can be overwhelming. And so you have to be able to have like blinders on. Once you figure out what you're doing, you have to try enough things to, especially in lead generation, to know what you like and what works. Right. Track everything so you can actually see what's working. That's really why I started YouTube. Was like I did my year-over-year tracking, and it was like it went up 700%. I'm like, maybe I should invest more in that. But also, I bought when I first came in, I didn't work at home because I had all the kids, and I would come into the office and work in the bullpen because I couldn't afford an office space yet. But I bought a pair of Bose headphones and just put them on all the time. And I said, don't talk to me, people. Like I have work to do. I have mouths to feed. And in this business, so many people who get in are extroverts, and they'll spend so much time talking to other real estate agents or talking about the stupid inspection or like complaining about things. Yep. Like you can waste so much time doing that. And when I see that in the office, I look away and like run to my office real quick now, because it's not, you have things to do. Yeah. It's not productive. Like, so don't get sucked into complaining, storytelling. I mean, it's good to make friends and it's good to, share stories and learn from one another, but don't waste time. Stay focused. Go lead gen. What did I say? Third thing, rest. The people who are super productive, I have so much respect for them. They tend not to be very good at rest. That's okay. They're good at other things, like beating me on the scoreboard. Like I said, for me, family and faith was really important. My family has built our rhythm around 6 days we work, 1 day we rest. This is a very hard thing to do as a real estate agent, to actually carve out a day to Sabbath, to rest. Yeah. And we do it, crazy enough, from Friday evening to Saturday afternoon, which is a pretty important time to be a real estate agent, by the way. Mm-hmm. And we kick it off with a great dinner. We do all these things. We have all these kind of traditions, but we have candles, we have good food, we have this certain music that's playing. And we basically say, hey, we worked really hard that week. Now we get to rest. Mm-hmm. And it's the best day of our week. We do all of our favorite things. We eat our best foods. We take naps. We go to parks. Like, we spend time with our family. We try to turn off the phone. And I've tried to set up the business in a way where things get covered. I set expectations with my clients of like, hey, I've got 5 kids. I need this day. Mm-hmm. Saturday evening and Sunday, we got it. We'll go. Or we got showing assistants, or, my assistant Carrie, who's amazing. But if you don't do that, like, you're going to burn out. Yeah. And having that one day every week allows you to get through the week knowing you can do really, really hard things because you've got a time coming up where you can rest. Mm-hmm. Now, I will also say we don't do like full weekends. We work 6 days. So our Sunday is very busy in work. But if I were to give anyone advice getting into this business, it can run you ragged all the time. So at the start, try to figure out how you can carve out, even if it's a couple hours, like figure out a time where you can consistently rest.
Right. Yeah. Love that.
Me too. I need to get better at that myself.
I don't think we've ever heard that from anybody either, which is super profound and super true for everyone. I think every real estate agent can relate to that, knowing that they probably need to carve out some time.
I didn't invent it. There's this thing called the 10 Commandments. It's one of them. My faith has come through here. I believe in a creator. I believe he made the world in a certain way. And his commandment was, remember this day. I made it for you. So Jesus in the New Testament says, Sabbath is not made for man. Man. Oh my gosh, I'm butchering it.
You had it backwards, but
yeah.
Where you're going.
Man was not made for the Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man.
Right.
And his whole point was like, this is a gift. This is a gift to you, not to just be following rules and making sure you're checking off boxes of my law. It's like, no, like man was made on the 6th day, and his first day on earth was the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. And it's such a profound thought to think of. I should do all of my work. So God said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, rule it. And all of that should stem out of a day of rest with me first. And it's like, whoa. And again, I don't want to get I've already gotten too
You're good,
religious on the show, but that's a big thing for me in our family. Yeah.
I love it.
the passion burns through, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're excited to see where you go.
Yeah, I'm super proud to have you on, man.
Thanks for having me.
This has been a really, really cool.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. You guys are doing
really
amazing
cool
things
episode.
here.
We appreciate you.
These things pop up and I'm like, this is awesome. I love seeing all the featured people. There's so many cool people in the city, and I love that you're highlighting them. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Eric.
All right, brother.
All right,
Talk
guys.
soon.
See you, buddy.
ya.
Thanks for listening to the Cincinnati Real Producers Podcast powered by Nextdoor Photos. We do this every week, so be sure to subscribe so you can follow along. If you liked our conversation, leave us a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts.